Okay, good morning, Shavua Tov for everyone joining, and we'll be going through a briefing this morning. It's Sunday morning here in Israel, and things are looking up. Things are looking up, and let me explain why. So first off, some good news. Two hostages were released. That is excellent news. When we have hostages that are released, there's really but one of the things that we're really looking forward to is the release of hostages. That's something that we really want and need as a people. These are right now we're at 210 hostages that we know about, and it's important to recognize when we say we know about these 210 hostages, it's not that the Palestinians that took hostages, whether they be Hamas or they be anybody else, gave us a list of hostages that they have. First of all, it's not one organization that's holding all of the hostages. Okay, that's important to note. There were 6 Palestinian organizations that participated, terror organizations that participated in the attack, and of the 6 Palestinian organizations that participated in the attack, there were also individuals that participated in the attack. And we're talking about in the thousands, thousands of individual Palestinians that participated in the attacks and took hostages on their way back into Gaza, into the Gaza Strip when they went back after attacking Israel. So the idea that the hostages are in one area or controlled by one group that might be able to negotiate their freedom is mistaken, and therefore it's a little we're a little nervous about how we're going to find all these hostages or negotiating their freedom. It seems to be out of the question because only some of them are being held by Hamas. So the idea that Hamas released 2 of them is good news. Now the question is how they were how were they let go, why these were let go. So that gets me a little nervous because what were the negotiations? What was given for them? There's no way that Hamas just released 2 hostages out of the goodness of their heart. Hamas doesn't have goodness of their heart. They don't look at Jews as human beings, so they're not going to have this idea of, oh well, it's the right thing to do to release them. These are the people that took children hostages. So when you see them releasing 2 people, either Hamas was given something, which we don't want Hamas to get any support, physical support, or there's somebody that is able to tell Hamas what to do, and they're only telling them to release 2 hostages. Or there's background deals going on between, let's say, the United States. These were American citizens, between the United States and Hamas through others. Either way, whatever it is, this is it's good that the 2 were released, and that's great news. But there's obviously something going on that we're not privy to in the world, and that's somewhat worrying as to what the process is to release them. And does that mean that Hamas is getting support from someone? That's what we're a little nervous about. Okay, another interesting piece of good news is that the Haredi population in Israel is really feeling part of this. A lot of times when Israel goes through something, so the Haredi population could really be standoffish and be on their own. Here, when we say the entire country is united, we're talking about literally the entire country, and that's why it's great that the news came out that 2,000 Haredi men have volunteered for the IDF over the last week, and they're being brought into the IDF. That's an incredible sign as to the level of unity that this country is experiencing. Also, seeing a lot of soldiers coming home for Shabbat that were on the front, some being given a day off. That's also good. That was great to see some of the soldiers home. And over on Thursday night, we found out that now Yemen is a country that's in the south of Saudi Arabia. Okay, it's south of Saudi Arabia. So if you have Saudi Arabia, it looks almost like it's an island. It's not, but it looks like it's almost an island. And the bottom of Saudi Arabia, you have countries that live on the bottom of it and to the east of it. but that border Saudi Arabia. So one of the countries to the south is Yemen. And Yemen, over the last, it must be 5 years now, has been experiencing sort of like almost like a civil war, except for the fact that it's not their own citizens really fighting. It's really a proxy battle between Saudi Arabia and Iran, between two groups fighting for them. The Iranian group is the Houthis. So the Houthis fired, and from the headlines at first, it seemed like they had fired three missiles at Israel, and then a U.S. ship were able to knock them out of the sky. So it turns out that it was actually a prolonged 9-hour attack against Israel that the Houthis were sending. Now, again, when we say the Houthis were sending, it sounds like there's like some rebel group in Yemen that's concerned about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is just another proxy group of Iran. As imagine, instead of Iran having different sections of its military, it just has different groups that represent its military, and Iran is able to order them around from wherever they are. That's what's happening. So you talk about that's what this seems like. And so the Houthis fired for 9 hours. They fired missiles. They let drones up, and the U.S. military, which is an incredible amount of technology, was able to stop this attack for 9 straight hours as it was going on. So that's pretty good news. Okay, and not so good news. So you have and concerning news. So you have the idea that we've announced that we officially have 210 hostages. Now, how does this number keep going up? There are many people missing after the attack, and we're talking about hundreds upon hundreds of people missing. We also have hundreds of unidentified dead bodies, and because they were tortured and burned, and it's impossible to know if you've not been told that your relative was one of the people killed. So you don't know if your relative was tortured and burned to death, or you don't know if they are one of the people that was taken hostage. You don't know, and because the Palestinians that took Jews hostage are not releasing lists of who's hostage, so we don't know where they are. So sometimes until we find confirmation that they were taken hostage through various ways, we don't know. So the hostage number keeps going up. At the same time, you're going to start seeing the numbers of those murdered going up. We're still finding bodies. In other words, not everybody was killed in their homes. Some people were killed in fields, and Hamas took bodies and hid them places, and booby-trapped bodies. And the level of depravity and brutality here, I mean, I'm worried about becoming immune to it because I keep talking about it. But it can't be that we ever forget the level of cruelty and brutality that we are exposed to here, and that's why the numbers of hostages are going up, and also the number of people that are being alerted to the fact that their family members were killed, and you're seeing right there were only about 700 funerals so far. And if you talk about that, we know of 1,400 people. We've collected 1,400 Jewish bodies. As horrible as that is to say. So we're having trouble identifying people because of the level of destruction done to their bodies by Hamas, and it's just disgusting. And by other Palestinians. It shouldn't just limit it to Hamas. Something else that concerns me is the aid package that President Biden is going to be presenting to Congress. President Biden addressed the nation on Thursday night and presented his hopes for an aid package that he hopes Congress will pass. Now, the issue is that and it's great, the aid package that he's asking for is something like $14 billion to Israel, which will help us tremendously, and we're grateful for it. One snag that I see is that he's tied Ukrainian aid and Israeli aid together. Now, Israeli aid in Congress will pass like this. Congress is incredibly pro-Israel, talking about it'll pass by 90-something% of the votes. The problem is that he's tied it into Ukrainian aid into one bill, which is not Congress is not as pro aiding Ukraine as they are pro aiding Israel. That they don't see it as, and especially within the Republican Party, there are a lot of members of the Republican delegation in Congress that don't want to to aid Ukraine anymore. And if they're going to be given a choice between they're going to want to split up the bill, and it's going to take a lot more time, and it's going to add a political partisan nature to it, which it shouldn't. So that concerns me, and I think it's a little bit of a it's not right of the Biden administration to do this. I think they should have left it as independent bills. President Biden tried explaining how the connection between Ukraine, Russia, Hamas, the attack on Israel, and while yes, I understand that there's like a sort of an evil axis out there of Russia and Iran that are somewhat connected here, it's really not. And I think that if this becomes political now because it's tied into Ukraine, it's a shame. Okay, we're having a lot of fighting on the Lebanese border. These are like tit for tat type of attacks against Hezbollah. Hezbollah trying, here and there to hit our soldiers with missiles, and then we're attacking Hezbollah. I don't know if this alludes to what might turn into a greater attack or a lesser attack. I don't know. And whether this means that Hezbollah is going to get into the war or it's not. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Okay, so that's what's going on in the northern border, and now I'll take questions if anybody has. Okay, if nobody has questions, then we'll end the briefing now. Oh, you know what? I didn't even open the chat thing, so I wouldn't even know. I'm not looking at the. I don't think there are any things. No questions. Oh, okay. How's Mitzvah Yericho? Thanks. Mitzvah Yericho is we're in good spirits. A lot of our families are split up now because a lot of the men have been taken to reserve duty. They've been called up, so we're missing a lot of full families. A lot of men are gone. We're also preparing for an eventual attack that we assume is going to come from our neighbors in Yericho. Our neighbors in Yericho have been rioting a lot inside their own town. They're not being allowed out of their city. So we're preparing by buying materials and making sure that we have what we need. So that's what's happening. And that's Mitzvah. And of course, we're trying to balance our emotions here, which are not easy. What are your thoughts on why Hamas gave back those specific hostages? I don't know. They're not saying anything, so I don't know. There was nothing tied into it. That's the problem, is that we now do not know. You posted that it's a question of when they will attack Mitzvah. Why won't the army come help you? So it's not that the army won't come help us. It's just the army has a lot to cover. And so there are soldiers nearby, but we can't rely completely on the army. We saw that the army didn't respond in a timely enough fashion to save the people of the South. So it would be foolish for us to think that we're going to be any different. We have to assume that we're not, and therefore we have to go ahead and make sure that we're protected on our own. We just can't assume. What about unarmed citizens of Mitzvah? So it's not. Keep in mind, it's not that in Mitzvah it's going to be everybody for themselves. And in Israeli towns, we have a security force that's amazing inside of Mitzvah. So unarmed people in Mitzvah will be able to rely on our internal security. It's not that we're telling people in Mitzvah that, hey, you're on your own, and that each individual in Mitzvah is on their own. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that Mitzvah can't rely on the army, but the individual people in Mitzvah can rely on our security forces. And that's what I'm relying on. I'm relying on what's called our Kita Konut, which is our security force. That's fine. Someone mentioned online that they have 7 other relatives being held captive at the moment. So those hostages aren't going to share what they actually want to share. Have you heard anything of that? I don't. Oh, you mean those families aren't going to share what they actually want to share? So I don't know. I know there are a lot of people that are being held hostage. There are a lot of people being held hostage, and I'm not sure what they're being told they can say, what they can't say. I just don't know. I don't know what You know, if they're being told not to say something, so then they're not going to say they're being told not to say something. So I don't know. What do you still need to protect the issue? Right now, our next purchase that we're looking for is an ATV. We're looking to buy an ATV. It costs $37,000. So if you have $37,000 and you would like to protect the Jewish people, we could use an ATV. That allows us to go through the hills and inspect things in the hills, which is something that a Jeep can't. Do you think there should be a massive campaign for Jewish accounts to be active in spreading pro-Israel awareness? I look at, we live on social media, so we assume that everybody else is living on social media. I think that there should be a massive campaign for Jews in America to be lobbying members of Congress. That's what I think should happen. I don't think that social media is the place where the battle needs to take place. I think it needs to take place in the halls of Congress. Those are the people that have influence. Those are the people that are going to make a difference. Besides that, and I think there should be a massive Jewish campaign for Jewish prayer. I think that we should be davening to Hashem. I think we should be doing tshuva. They're the ultimate influencer, if you could call Kadosh Baruch Hu that, isn't the greatest insult probably. But the greatest influence that's going to determine things is Hashem, and we have to dive into Hashem. I know it sounds like sort of simplistic, but that's really what it is. So I think that there should be a massive campaign for Jews to pray, and then I think it should also be a massive Jewish campaign for Jews to lobby and lobby members of Congress, the people that are making those decisions. That's what I think. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any more questions, so I'll end it here. Have a great week, everybody. Let's hope that this is the week that we have victory. So.